if you're watching this episode right now, that means you've watched the other ones, right? So like, comment, subscribe. So let's get into it.
Hey guys, it's Hawkman Day, and who else do you know about Hawkman than Tim Board, the guy who is the founder of Hawkworld? Say hi, Tim.
Hi, Jake. Hi, everybody. Happy Hawkman Day.
So, for those who don't know, like Hawkman is a really interesting character. Basically, he's a guy who can be who's resurrected throughout time. I know Tim from Comic University, and he knows everything about it. I mean, Tim, I just want to talk more about Hawkman in general. First thing first, why is Hawkman your favorite character? What got you started kind of on that character?
Well, let me first just say that I don't know everything about Hawkman. I learn something about him pretty much every day when I'm just, reading the comics and talking to everybody and stuff, because it's a really deep character. He's been around for, 80 years. So, yeah, I'm learning stuff every day, but, the appeal of Hawkman, for me, I've got a whole list of things that appeals to me about Hawkman, but the very first thing that appealed to me was his image. The first time I picked up something I noticed from Hawkman was this 1976 DC calendar. And if you search for it online, you can find pictures of it and stuff. But on the back cover, there's a picture drawn by Neil Adams of the Justice League. And it's a pretty famous picture. And when I was 13, I noticed it. And just right away, Hawkman stood out to me. There's like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, all those, all the main characters. But Hawkman was just, his helmet, and his wings, and his harness, and just the whole image was the first thing that I noticed, and I immediately just became interested in that character, and that's what got me started, getting into comics and finding out what this guy was all about, and that's where it started.
Huh. Wow, that's interesting. That's really kind of cool. All from a calendar.
Yeah, he wouldn't know. Well, seeing it on TV, I guess Super Friends, but Hawkman wasn't really a regular character.
Hmm.
And at that time, Hawkman didn't have his own comic. He was showing up in Justice League of America every month, and then I think about that time, some of the just maybe a little older recent issues, he was doing a backup feature in Detective Comics, and so it really wasn't around that much, but just the image, and that turned on my Hawkman radar, and every time he showed up, I'd kind of perk up and just interested in the character ever since then.
Huh. Wow. So, what made you start Hawkworld? Like, give us the whole story on that.
Oh gosh. Well, I live in Japan. I've lived in Japan since 1991. I came over here to work, and comics are very hard to come by over here. I've never seen a comic book in a bookstore over here. I always have to order stuff or read it digitally. And I think back towards the end of 2015, I started thinking, I want to really get back into comics. And, I've been reading some on and off, and I started looking around first on Facebook, and there were some Hawkman groups and stuff on there, but I kind of wanted to do my own thing. I had a whole bunch of ideas and just stuff I wanted to do. So in January 2016, I guess almost 3 years ago now, I started, first I just called it Hawkman. And I just started inviting everybody, if you're interested in Hawkman, come on, let's join, come join us and let's talk about Hawkman. And probably the number one reason I started, because at the time, Hawkman did not have a comic book. The Savage Hawkman ended in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, he'd shown up in like Justice League or was it the New 52, Futures, and different series. And then I heard that he was going to start appearing on this new TV show. And I thought, well, that's kind of a pretty good angle to get everybody excited about it again. So I started up a group. And the TV show ended up being a very big disappointment for me. I'm sure there are a lot of fans. I was very disappointed how that ended up. But people kept just joining. When I first started the group, I thought if I get 500 members, that would be really awesome. If I could find 500 people that are interested in Hawkman, that'd be a lot of fun. We could talk about Hawkman, just different stuff, But they just kept coming. And right now we got about 4,700 members on Hawkworld in Facebook. And I've had people quit the group because we're so active. They've actually sent me a message saying, "I'm sorry, dude, I gotta quit because just stuff is coming up all the time." And I don't really mention that you can turn off the notification button and stuff, but yeah, it's just they post their favorite pictures, they post questions, they post news when they see it, hear about it online. It's a very, very active group. I've got 5 other people, 5 other guys, two girls and 3 other guys who work with me on the group. And every time I wonder if this is okay or if I should do this, or they let me know what they think about it, and it's a great group. But one of the biggest things I noticed that a lot of the artists and the writers, the editors, all these people that have created the Hawkman comics in the past had started joining Hawkworld. And at first I thought, no, this isn't the real, Tim Truman, who wrote Hawkworld. No, this can't be the real Tim Truman. This is somebody just a fan of Tim Truman who's joining Hawkworld, but then I started checking all these, famous names I wrote, and come to find out they're the real people. And I'm I was kind of blown away by that. Graham Nolan, Steve Lieber, Rags Morales, just all these people just joining. And about 6 months, I started thinking, I wanted to change the name of the group to Hawkworld. And I thought, Facebook's kind of funny with the rules sometimes. They kind of, shut you down if you do something that's out of line. So I wanted to get permission. So I sent Tim Truman a message, and I said, DC Comics probably owns the name. But if you could give me your blessing to name the group Hawkworld, that would be really great. And he sent me a message and said, "Yeah, go for it." So I changed the name to Hawkworld, and after that, I started the Twitter group about the same time, so changed that to Hawkworld as well. And now we got Instagram Hawkworld, and I do a Hawkworld blog. So we got 4 things going with Hawkworld now. So it just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of just blew up. Far bigger than anything I ever thought it would be, and it's kind of like my full-time job now when I go to work part-time or something. But yeah, it's been great. It's met a lot of people, I get to meet you here on your YouTube channel, and just met so many awesome people over online. But it's been a great experience.
Wow, I did not know. Wow. That's crazy. I didn't even know. I'm a part of the Hawkworld too, and it's just, wow. That's crazy. So, this is just you didn't like the series? Let me guess, Legends of Tomorrow, was it?
Well,
or was it Smallville?
Legends of Tomorrow.
Okay. Huh. Can you go into that? I mean, I understood. No, it's fine if you don't. But
well, I don't like to criticize, people. I mean, if people ask me what I thought about it, a lot of times I'll post something on Twitter or Facebook about it. But first of all, I have to say that I thought Falk Hensel, who did Hawkman, and Sierra Renee, who did Hawkgirl, were really good. I thought they did a good job of what they did. And I really wish they could come back and do their, like just a guest appearance on like Arrow or The Flash or something. That would be really awesome. I would love to see them do that role again. But it was the writing.
Okay.
Is the way. Well, first of all, they killed off Hawkman in the pilot.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know.
They promoted him for like 5 months, after they announced he was going to be on the show. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm waiting for 5 months, and they kill him in the pilot. That's just not fair, So that kind of turned me off a bit. And then they have like Hawk Girl. Why does she need a man? I mean, they had her hooking up with Cisco. And then Hawkman showed up, and then Hawkman dies, and then she's hooked up with the Atom for a while, and then Hawkman comes back, so she jumps back over to Hawkman. I'm like, come on, let her be her own superhero, and let her do her own thing. She doesn't have to latch on to a man. I think Sarah Renee remarked about that on Twitter before, but that was a big turnoff. And then the way it ended. Okay, they killed Vandal Savage. All right, end of season 1. What's going to happen in season 2? But then, like in the last 30 seconds of the show, suddenly, like, well, we're going to leave and go, live our own lives, and they just fly away like that. And I'm like, what? Then another time ship or something crashes right after they leave, and the Justice Society shows up. And, and like, wait a minute, you just wrote Hawkman out of the show, and then you have the Justice Society show up? And, like, I just, yeah, so I'm not a big fan.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. That was the thing that got me too when I watched that. I was like, okay.
Well, the writer of the show, I'm gonna say his name, but he said they sat down for season 2, and he just had nothing else to write about for Hawkman. And I'm like, what? I'm like, come on, move over, let me do it. But it was just it was too bad the way it ended. Maybe next time will be better. But anyway, that's that. Moving on.
Okay. Well, you said before you read a bunch of Hawkman comics. What is your favorite run of Hawkman?
Oh man, it's hard to choose.
Okay, how about your top 3? How's that?
Yeah, well, whenever somebody asked me before, I had my list, but right now, Venditti's run is at the top of my list.
Really?
I mean, yeah, it's only been 5 issues, but he has gone. Yep, that's. It is. I don't know, just everything I wanted wanted Hawkman to be, but I didn't know it. Venditti has pulled it out and just made Carter Hall, in his own right, an interesting character. And the way he's kind of redesigned Hawkman's costume, the way it works, and the mace, flying back and coming back to him, and I think he's managed to write a series that satisfies the older fans, but also brings in newer fans. And the art by Brian Hitch is just amazing. When he drew Hawkman Found last year, I told everybody then, this is the most beautiful Hawkman comic I've ever seen. And just the detail in the wings. It's just beautiful comic. And then when I heard that he's going to pick, do the series, the regular series, I was really looking forward to it. And I don't see how the guy keeps it up. It just page after page after page. It's just unbelievable artwork. And the way he's drawn the wings, especially, is more detailed than any artist I've ever seen. When I first saw the wings of Hawkman that he drew, I Google, hawks and just see what their wings look like. And the way it's just not one color, it's got like some white in there and then the black and then white again. Just the way he just details the wings is just absolutely beautiful. And I keep telling everybody on Hawkworld, Facebook and Twitter, just pick up the comic. Tell your friends to pick up the comic because they will not be disappointed in this. So yeah, Venditti is my number one right now. Before that, I usually would say Brave and the Bold at the very beginning, issue number 34 through 36 and number 42 through 44. And then right after that, there was a series that Gardner Fox and Murphy Anderson did in the Mystery in Space, issues 87 through 86 through 89, I think. Before the regular Hawkman, the first Hawkman series came out in 64. But that whole run there was my favorite. The Shadow War by Tony Isabella is just another amazing series. It's too bad it ended the way it did. Then The Legend of the Hawkman by Benjamin Robb. I hope I said his name right. It was only a 3-issue series, but it is great. If nobody's ever picked this up, it's just standalone. It's not really in the continuity of Hawkman or anything, but it is a fantastic little miniseries called Legend of the Hawkman. And then, of course, Jeff Johns' Hawkman Volume 4. The writing I had some issues with, but Rags Morales' art again was just so good. So those are my favorites, I'd have to say.
Okay, I've read Jeff Johns' first volume of Hawkman.
Mm-hmm.
Art was great. Writing so far was kind of like nah, and I love Jeff Johns. That's the thing. I love Jeff Johns, and that one was kind of like.
Yeah, well, he came back in Justice Society, a JSA, in 2001, and then 2002, Jeff Johns started the new series, and the whole Kendra Shiera thing going on, who am I, I'm my own woman, and she really didn't know who Carter Hall was, but she did, and at the beginning it was like she was kind of creeped out by the whole thing because he kept, saying we're destined to be together, And okay, at the beginning I can understand that, and Hawkman was kind of like, for thousands of years this has been, they've been together, and then suddenly he comes back and she's not wanting any part of it, and I can understand his confusion and frustration and everything, but it just kept going on. It's just. They're turning him to a creepy stalker kind of guy who go into a rage, and Kendra would reel him in, then push him out, reel him in, and push him out. And by the time, the series ended in 2006, but it got old for me, that part of the story. But the other part of the stories was great. There were some great issues in that run. But yeah, I had a little, some issues with the writing, but it was a good series.
So I got another question for you. I saw your chart a long time ago on like the past lives of Hawkman. Can you go over that? I'm gonna post that right here in this right now and just go over it because I had no idea he was the great grandfather of Superman or something. Right?
Well,
of Jonathan Kent or John.
It was in a different issue, and Superman goes back in time. Actually, Brian Kent, he lived in the 6th century, and he was the Silent Knight. And throughout the whole issue, Superman and the Silent Knight are kind of working together. And at the end, he asks the guy his name, and he takes off his helmet, Brian Kent. And then they kind of give that kind of look, So it was never, said, in words, oh, he's my, and the ancestor of Jonathan Kent, but it was implied,
Mm.
and you can't. It was implied pretty clearly. But that's like what would it be? It's like his 40th great grandfather. Just way back in the past. But after Prince Khufu, that's the earliest life that we know of so far, until Venditti comes up with some other stuff. But that's where the timeline started. And then he was Captain John Smith of the Virginia colony. He was Cohen von Grimm, blacksmith in Germany. Then he was apparently he was a Japanese samurai for a while. He was of course Hannibal Hawk, Night Hawk during the 19th century. And then he was a detective in the earliest 20th century named James Wright. And in each life, he meets Shiera in a different life as well. And then after James Wright was killed, then the Golden Age Hawkman is supposed to come into play. So it was all in a nice, neat little line. And I had it all kind of figured out until Venditti just threw this time and space thing at us, and he just completely destroyed my flow chart. So, yeah, but that's kind of where it started. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. All right. Well, last question. What run would you recommend to new readers, people who want to get into the lore or just get into the comics in general, for Hawkman?
Well, first you run into the question of which Hawkman do you want to read, Carter Hall or Catal Hall? Which one do you want to read? And I don't know, everybody says it's continuity issue, it's confusing, and all this kind of stuff. But when I started reading Hawkman, he was Qatar Hall, space, police officer from Thanagar, and that was fine. And then somewhere along the way, he became Carter Hall, and that I never even blinked when that happened. It just, Hawkman is Hawkman, no matter who it is. No matter it's Hannibal Hawk or Qatar Hall or Prince Khufu or whoever it is, Hawkman is Hawkman. And so every time I've run up some polls on Twitter and Facebook in the past, which Hawkman do you prefer, Carter Hall or Qatar Hall? Which one do you want? And it's usually just split right down the middle. Everybody has their favorite. If I had to choose, I guess I would go with before I would go with Qatar Hall from Thanagar, because just the whole planet is just fascinating to me. Just the whole society built on these floating cities and all the science and space and everything. It was amazing. I wish they would make a comic book series on Thanagar alone. That would just be amazing. But if you really want to, just enjoy Hawkman, of course, pick up the new comic book by Venditti and Hitch. Really, pick it up. It's good. I can't say this enough, but the series that I named just a while ago, Brave and the Bold, The Shadow War from mid 80s, Legend of the Hawkman, and Hawkman Volume 4 during that started in 2002. I guess if you want to relate to the Hawkman that's in the comics now, I would pick up Hawkman Volume 4 by Jeff Johns and Rag Morales. That series ran for 49 issues. Jeff Johns stopped writing after issue number 25, I think it was. And there are a couple of different artists in them. Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray picked up the writing, and I think they did a great job. But that Carter Hall is closest, I think, to what Venditti is writing in the comics today. So maybe that's a good starting point. So that's what I would tell him. Yeah.
All right. Well, I can attest to Robert Venditti's Man comic. It's phenomenal. I mean, Venditti is an awesome writer, and when I heard he was writing Hawkman, I mean, I had to try it out, and I heard it's like an Indiana Jones, in which I can attest it is like an Indiana
Yeah.
Jones kind of feel to it. Um,
Have
but
you ever written a Hawkman comic before this series came out?
like I said, I read Jeff Johns' run, his first his
Hmm.
first volume,
Oh yeah.
and that was the only one I was familiar with. I do have his first book on JSA. I haven't read that yet,
Hmm.
but I'm looking to expand my my horizons on certain characters, especially Hawkman, after reading Venditti's run so far. So
Hmm.
so yeah.
Well, Hawkman, he can be, a confusing character. But I think DC Comics has gotten to the point now where every character is confusing. They've rebooted and rebirthed so many times. But what Venditti has done, I talked to him on a podcast back in May, and before the series came out, and he said that after he was asked to do the series, he said it took him 1 hour to figure out how to make Hawkman work. And I'm like, I've been thinking about this for 40 years. How do you do this in 1 hour, And what are you going to come up with? And the way he worked it out was very interesting. That he made all the Hawkman versions one man. They're all the same guy. And I did a thing on the internet the other day, on Facebook and Twitter the other day, where I was comparing Flash and Green Lantern and Hawkman. And what prompted that was I didn't pick it up. I wanted to read Flash number 50. I hadn't read Flash number 50 yet. It's supposed to be a big ending to the Flash story that was going on. So I tried reading it digitally, and I was confused because there were so many flashes, different flashes in the story. And I hadn't been keeping up with the Flash that much, I'll admit. When you say Green Lantern, you say, which Green Lantern? John Stewart, Guy Gardner, Hal Jordan, which one, And then when the Flash is like, which Flash, Barry Allen or Wally West, or it just keeps going on. And a lot of the fans of Green Lantern and Flash, they were very kind. They said, well, Flash is a legacy. Flash, he passes down his role to the next Flash, and okay, I can understand that. That's pretty good. And then the Green Lantern fan said, Green Lantern is a force. It's not just one man. It's just like thousands of Green Lanterns, and that's what Green Lantern is. And I heard that, and I started thinking, Hawkman's not a legacy. He doesn't hand it down to anybody. He reincarnates and just keeps going on and on and on. But there's so many different versions and so many different names, and just how do you fit it all together? And I was like, well, Flash is a legacy, and Green Lantern is a force. Well, Hawkman is one man. No matter which version of Hawkman you're reading about Hawkman. And so if you kind of approach it with that mindset, and whichever Hawkman comic you pick up, this is the time he was on Thanagar. Oh, this is the time he was in the Justice Society. Oh, this time he was in the Justice League, and read it that way, and just enjoy the character for what he is. I think it would be you can enjoy the character a lot more.
Huh. I'll definitely keep that in mind when I read those. I mean, it's like the one I was actually looking at was like Hawkworld, I think it was called. The actual comic's called Hawkworld, isn't it? Yeah. I heard you on Hawkworld like talking about that a lot. So I think that might be my next one after I finish JSA, and I hope it's. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I'm Professor Bill from Comic Book University. He's wanted to talk about that on a podcast. One of these days before before I don't know when, but Hawkworld. When it came out, I was in school. I didn't have time to pick up the issues. When it came out in trade back, all in one volume, I picked it up, and I think that was one of the most stunning comics I've ever read. And when I finished reading, I think I realized I'd stopped breathing. I was just like, whoa, especially about the time when Shiera Thal shows up, Hawkwoman. About the time she shows up, it's just the commentary on society and just the way they just Tim Truman completely just changed everything about Hawkman and Thanagar, and up until that point it'd been changing in the comics a bit, but Thanagar was kind of this utopia really when Brave and the Bold came out in the 60s, but slowly but surely ended starting to crumble and becoming more of a dystopian kind of thing going on. But Hawkworld was just blew up everything that we'd ever known about Hawkman before, and it's just amazing series. The volume 2 that started in 1990 and ran through 1993, Tim Truman and John Ostrander started writing it. That at the beginning, up till about issue 26 or so, it was very, very well written. It kind of, in my opinion, went off the tracks a bit at the end, but it's a very interesting series, especially that first Hawkman Volume 1 from 1989. That is definitely something a Hawkman fan should pick up, because it's just intense. The whole experience that Qatar Hall goes through and those 3 issues is just really intense. I would definitely recommend it. Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely be picking it up then. I'll definitely pick it up. The way you described it, it's like, wow.
It's really good. You get really emotional reading it almost. It's very gripping. Yeah, it's one of the best Hawkman series out there.
Okay. Definitely. If you're definitely saying it's that good in writing, then yeah.
It's good. It's
good. All right. Well, I'm gonna leave it with that. We're gonna end this right now.
All right.
Thanks, guys, for watching this special video on Hawkman. Hope you enjoyed it. If you do, hit that subscribe button and hit that bell button so you never miss out on the live streams and giveaways that we do on this channel. And I want to know down in the comments down below, do you like Hawkman? And if you do like Hawkman, what is your favorite run on Hawkman? Or is it one of the things that's from the TV series? Let me know down in the comments down below. And I want to thank Tim Board again for joining us on this interview. And yeah. All right, guys. Have a
Thanks, Jake. Enjoyed it.
All right, guys. Peace out.